The Jamie Dyer Show.
Delighted to be joined via the medium of the telephone, two people who run the Chantry Dance Company, Ray and Paul. Great to have you along. You're here today to talk to us about the day in the life of the dancer and also Dracula, which is being performed later this year. But first, can you tell us a little bit about what your company is?
So Chantry Dance Company is a theatrical touring contemporary ballet company. So within the style that we present, it's quite a fluid style, really. Contemporary ballet covers, a variety of movement, languages and styles within the contemporary dance genre. So it could be anything really from neoclassical work, which is a slightly more balletic language, all the way through to release work, which is a strong contemporary language. But we very much base the choreographic style on whatever the narrative is demanding at the time. So, for example, our style will change if we're presenting a story about a vampire, like Dracula, compared to if we were presenting a story about, for example, a bird, like in Swan Lake or something like this.
I see. So it's quite an interesting thing. So you've got this thing, the day in the life of a dancer, which is coming. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's a new talk that Ray and I are developing. We previously toured before to the Capitol and other venues with another talk from last year, which is contemporary dance demystified. But this year, we're looking at the day in the life of a dancer. What that basically means is we will be showing to the audience how a dancer maintains their fitness, how they maintain their strength and flexibility, demonstrating some of the exercises that we do in our daily classes, how we maintain our health as regards our nutrition, and showing people how we learn choreography. Obviously, it's a very difficult task when you have a choreographer in front of you who's creating a new piece on you. And I'm sure to a lot of people, being able to remember an hour and a half worth of dance steps can be quite challenging. So, we're just going to open up people's eyes to how we actually learn the choreography and actually how we manage to maintain it.
It's very much a sort of a peek behind the scenes into the dancers' world that we'll be presenting. And there's the opportunity as well, really, for the audience to engage with that directly, as we're running a question and answer session as part of this event as well. So if there's any burning questions from the audience about how dancers prepare their point shoes, or, what we eat on a daily basis, what do we do for relaxation, what we do when we're preparing for a dance role, we'll be able to answer all of those questions.
What do you think is the average age range of the audience? What do you think the age range is going to be?
Well, if there's anything to go by from what we experienced last year, we had our very youngest member of the audience was approximately 7, and I remember her vividly, a lovely young lady who asked some very interesting questions at the end of the talk. And we ranged all the way up to, we had some more senior members within the audience as well, and everybody in between. So it's very much suitable for all age groups, and I hope again this year that we'll be able to attract all age ranges to this event.
The tickets are free. Can you explain why that is and why they must be reserved if they're free?
So tickets need to be reserved simply because there's a limited number of seats actually available. So if 1,000 people decided they wanted to just turn up on the night, then we might have a bit of a problem because we'd run out of seats. So if you did want to come along to the event, you do need to contact the box office just to make sure that you have reserved a seat. But they are free because one of the things that we're very passionate about at Chantry Dance Company is developing audiences and encouraging people who might not have experienced dance before to come along and give it a go, see if there's something within dance that piques their interest. We're very keen as well to sort of demystify things about dance, when people who might not have seen so much dance before might feel that it's only about people in ballet shoes running around, dressing up as swans. Obviously, there's much more to dance than that. And of course, Swan Lake is very beautiful and very interesting, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. So it's free because we believe strongly in encouraging this audience development, and especially as well for the children. Children these days even though they have access to so much via the internet and YouTube and Vimeo, all of these platforms where they can see dance taking place, very often they don't actually come to the theatre so much to see live dance. And we would really like to encourage young people to get involved as much as possible with dance.
You'll have to excuse my ignorance here, but when you're casting for a show, is it just the both of you, or do you cast? What's your casting regime?
Sometimes when we cast for a show, we have specific dancers in mind, people that we previously worked with before in the company or in our previous freelance careers, which we sometimes think are ideal for the role, so we would instantly go to them first. Occasionally we have to hold auditions where we basically invite dancers to come in. They spend pretty much a whole day with us. They do classes, they learn a bit of the choreography from the show or previous shows. So there's lots of different ways. There's lots of different ways of doing it. So yeah, wanting the best.
We're also very excited, actually, with regards to casting, that this year in Dracula, we have cast a wonderful dancer called Shannon Parker, who I think many people will be familiar with, as Shannon was actually a Britain's Got Talent finalist as part of Shannon and Pete, that beautiful, beautiful dance duo, and they were the wild card winners. Shannon was also a former principal with San Francisco Ballet and Northern Ballet, and we're absolutely delighted to have her joining Chantry Dance Company for Dracula, and she's going to be dancing the role of Lucy.
Yes, indeed. Now, you've got a show coming up in the autumn. I'll just sort of mention this briefly, but you can tell us a little bit about it. You're going to be touring with Dracula. Where did this come from? Where did this idea come from?
Well, Dracula does, for dance companies, seem to be a very popular subject to tackle. We have obviously seen other dance companies produce versions of Dracula in the past. And it seems to attract choreographers like, I don't know, bees to honey or something like this. But it's a fascinating story. I think this is the reason why we've seen it done so often, is it's an absolutely fascinating story. Not only are we looking at a story where we see the supernatural colliding into, the normal world, we're also looking at it's generally set in a time period as well where we have this idea of science being on the verge of sort of becoming a really important thing which people are making great developments in. And in this sort of scientific world that's just developing, we've suddenly got vampires appearing. So there's this really interesting balance point. On top of that, you've also got a featured female character in Mina, who becomes kind of Dracula's obsession. And so you've got this interesting take on a woman's role within the society at that point as well. So there's a lot of scope within this story, especially for people who want to mess around with it and rewrite it, like us, to really create something very, very interesting. So we have rewritten the story. It's very much inspired by the Bram Stoker novel, Dracula, but we have rewritten the story and we've made a few little quirky twists to it. And so Dracula now, instead of being resident in a spooky old house in Transylvania, actually runs a cabaret club. It's not as crazy as it sounds. I would encourage people to come along and experience it, and hopefully they will enjoy this reimagining of Dracula that we've got coming up.
Sounds really interesting, a cabaret club. That's quite a common theme these days, and must work quite well in that dance environment as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the cabaret club has always been seen sort of as the epitome of entertainment, but it's also seen as somewhere, perhaps where the rules are a little bit less restrictive than in normal society. So it's an ideal environment really for a vampire to exist. And obviously within the cabaret club as well, you have the excitement of all the different acts that would perform. So again, whilst it's sort of a common theme that we would see running throughout theatrical productions, I think it will be a very exciting one for Dracula to exist in that environment and see how the vampire world and the human world can collide within that context.
Well, I really wish you the best of luck with that production. That is Dracula Welcome to D's, which is coming autumn 2018. But the thing we were initially talking about, the day in the life of a dancer, if people were interested in coming but weren't quite sure, what would you say to them?
Oh, always say, give it a try. You never know about something until you give it a try. And to be honest with you, you're not going to lose anything by coming along. It's free tickets. It's not a massively long event either. The talk lasts for approximately 45 minutes. With the demonstrations as well. But I would honestly say everybody that we've had come to these events before who hasn't experienced dance previously, they've come to the event and they might have experienced a little bit of trepidation in coming or a little bit of reluctance, but they've spoken to us afterwards and said actually how much they've enjoyed it and how much it's inspired them to maybe go and see a full-length dance production and perhaps be involved more in dance as an audience member. So, yeah, I would definitely say give it a go, because what can you lose?
Well, no, that's right, and I think it's right that you're encouraging more people to get into dance. Now, you're coming to the Capitol in Horsham on the 30th of June. You're also coming to the Lights in Andover. We've got a little bit to do with them on the 3rd of July as well. If people wanted to find out more about you, maybe there's someone listening from further afield, where would they need to go?
They could log on to our website, which is www.chantrydancecompany.org, and all the information about our current tours is available there. They're also able to contact us via email if they've got any direct queries, and we love to hear from people, so please feel free to come and email us, people. We'd like to hear your questions, and hopefully we'll be able to help.
And hopefully that you'll be able to encourage them into dance. I do wish you all the best with your future activities, Paul and Ray from Chantry Dance Company. Thank you so much for coming on today, and all the best.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
The Jamie Dyer Show.